if you don't have time to grab it and you need to go on the run, that's the emergency, that's more important, we'll get the drone. But if we can get in a habit of just rerouting yourself, going out past Street's office and grabbing it, it really shouldn't take that much more time to do it. Or like I said, I'm gonna try to remember to just start putting them in the back of District 68 as long as the batteries are good that day. So it might happen, might not, depending on batteries. Okay, so structure fires. Going back to this picture. So this one isn't the thermal, well, this is the thermal, but it's not the, what do you call that, the graded fire. So if you guys, we're gonna do this when we do transitional attack, and we do another transitional attack training. Jimmy grabbed some really good video and pictures of when we were doing our live burns. So in the graded fire, that's where it's kind of like orange is hot, blue is cold. It kind of has the color. You can see it once we go out there if you guys want to see what these different thermal capabilities look like. So the whole roof of that burn building, when we had the fire upstairs, the whole roof was orange. As soon as the crews started hitting that ceiling, it immediately turned blue and just started spreading across the roof. So I mean, you could see in real life time how much cooling ability a transitional attack has on a fire. So we're gonna use it for training, but you can see how useful that would be with a structure fire. We can see if we have hidden spot. When we had that lightning strike the other day, we didn't even think about it, but we had that lightning strike. Think of how good that would have been to put that up and look at the roof of that structure fire.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw.
Or of that, it wasn't a fire.
You know, when we went down to Lawrenceburg and did at their training tower, and we covered transitional attack pretty heavy. And the fire we just had on 2nd Street in Addison, Delhi's unit was first due, and pulled the lines off the truck, and I told Andy Ely, who's the lieutenant for Delhi, I said, we're gonna do a transitional attack. And I could tell the way he just kind of looked at me, it didn't click, and then we, got down there, and he went, it had already vented through 2 windows, he hit the ceiling, and at that point, he knocked the fire right then. Transitioned to the front door. They had a little trouble getting through the living room because it was almost like horror conditions. They got through the living room, then came down the hall, fire out. We pretty much contained it to that 1 bedroom. And a hell of a job. I mean, absolutely one hell of a job. So the transitional attack we put it into play, worked absolutely wonderful. I mean, from an investigation standpoint, it was good.
So that's what the UAS is going to show you guys. That once I get those videos in sequence and everything, it'll show you what that transitional attack did. But for a structure fire, it's going to be very useful. For investigation, it's very useful for us to get an overview picture of different burn patterns and even just to document the property. So even if we're not going to use it on structure fire afterwards, we always do an investigation, so we would need it there. So it needs to go on structure fires again. If it's more important to get to the structure fire and we have to send somebody back to get it, fine. If you can run through and grab it, or if it's on a truck that goes, then that's going to be ideal. Outdoor fire. If we have any kind of, wildfire, outdoor fire, it's good to give us a perimeter. We can look for a perimeter to see what the extent is, but we can also check for spot fires and stuff like that. So outdoor fire is great. Search and rescue, that's mainly why we got it. That's mainly the kind of what we applied for with the grant, and what Miami Fort bought it for us for is water rescue. Our biggest challenge with water rescue is finding the person, right? They went in here, where are they at now? Because they're moving. So finding where they are and then finding us access to the closest place to them. So that's the main reason we got this, but we've also used it for land searches. So it does have thermal image, kind of, when you're searching for a live person. It was 86 degrees that day. Of course, it's the hottest day of the year at that point. So the tree branches and the leaves were hotter than the
foliage
that were walking around.
Foliage on the trees is going to slow you down, but there was a piece. Now you got to think that it's detecting heat. So we did have a piece of plastic that just happened to be about a 6 foot long piece of plastic.
In the shape
in the shape of a body, and the sun was hitting that piece of plastic, and it's reflecting up, heat. So we're seeing an image of what looks like a body. So we directed, folks to go out and search that area and realize it was a piece of plastic.
Yeah.
So, know that those capabilities, know what,
limitations to it.
yeah, there is.
But search and rescue, that's the main thing. Those are the search and rescue, water rescues, those are the things that I would say, that's where it needs to go. We already gotta hook up the boat, we already have somewhat of a delayed response just to, get all of our equipment ready.
We're doing.
So somebody needs to grab this for any kind of search.
At
and
first,
rescue.
we're getting ready to do Swiftwater, our annual Swiftwater pre-qualification. We're gonna take that with us. I'm anxious to see how a body looks in the water.
Right.
So I'm really anxious to take it down there when we do our Swiftwater class.
Hazard recognition and hazmat. So with hazmat, what's our problem? We always are following the ERG, so we're back, like 330 feet from the hazard. So think about the hazmat that we got called to down on US 50. Remember the grain that was on the road? You have to identify it, what it is. And he right away said, I think that's grain from Consolidated Grain. So we're trying to get he's trying to get a hold of the Consolidated Grain, but we have to identify it and see if that's what it is, confirm or, deny what that is. Think of how easy this would have been. If we could have staged at, like the old Skyliner, we could have shut down US 50 from 330 feet, flown the drone right in. Like I said, we have 16 zoom on this. 6 is about where we said kind of the limit of that you can really see anything. We could have flown in, we could have taken picture, taken video, taken it right back to Consolidated Grain and say, is this your product? Yes. Okay, open back up the road, done and over with. So hazmat is extremely useful. We can fly and we can get placards. When we had the tanker or the truck, what was it, a fly ash truck?
Yeah, that overturned on Broward.
That overturned on Broward. They couldn't see if it was leaking out the backside, right? As long as there's not trees there. Fly around the backside, see if it's leaking, see if there's any placards, see the extent of the damage, see if there's any bodies over there, anything like that. So it just gives us a lot of capabilities that we can send the drone where we don't want to send personnel, all right? Another cool thing, I didn't even tell you this, so we saw we're part of that search and rescue. It's a volunteer search and rescue group, and we have drones for that, so we fly the drones for them. And there's another group that we work with, another search and rescue group that we work together with on this last one, and he has a drone. He has the big Enterprise DJI Enterprise, and he has all these different little gadgets to go on it. Yeah, he's ate up with it. So he has this one attachment that is a speaker. I don't know if I'll tell me, but ours are DJI too. So I don't know if we can get it or not, but it's a speaker and you can preload a message on the speaker. So like his message was a shelter in place message. So he could fly through streets or whatever and tell people, go inside, shut your doors and windows, turn off your HVAC, and wait for further instructions.
This is pre-recorded, it just keeps playing.
Or you can say, evacuation, we need you to evacuate, everybody needs to evacuate to Three Rivers Middle School. You can pre-record it right then and then fly it, and it's a speaker, and it's loud. It's a speaker, and it just broadcasts a message, again, where you don't want to go. And just think of how fast we could evacuate a neighborhood with that. I mean, you still got your other means of evacuation, shelter-in-place messages, pinging the phones and stuff like that, but it gives further instruction to those people. So I don't know if that's something we can get or not, but it was cool. It's a fun little toy. Post-disaster assessment, see the extent of the damage if we had some kind of terrorist or tornado or something like that, active shooter. Right, again, send it where we don't want to go. We can send in the drone. Public education events, public safety, community outreach, public relations, they're having the shredded event over there. We're gonna fly over and we're gonna get aerial pictures, not flying over people, but we're gonna get aerial pictures of the shredded event so we can put on our Facebook page for social media.
It's already been requested for the fireworks show at Crossroads on the 25th. So we'll have a team down there to fly it down there.
So sometimes it's flying it to advertise, or I guess to promote our public education or public relations we're already doing. But sometimes the drone itself is gonna be the public education. So kids would like it, taking it down to the school and showing them this is the capabilities we have and just showing it off for them or whatever. Miami Fort bought it for us, so just showing the public what it can do and what we got.
Miami Fort, I just sent it out on June the 9th. They're having their safety day. They've asked for us to bring it down for their safety day and fly it down there. So we've already got, on June the 9th and the 25th, it's already been requested.
Right, so we'll be using that. And then internal and external training. So training on it, but then also, like we said, the use that we can get some really good video and footage so you guys can see what we're actually doing with training, you know, you're gonna be able to see the effect you have on these water streams through the thermal imaging from that. So we use it for that. And then the other thing is just overwatch. So even with like search and rescue, if we get on dispatch, they say this is where the person is, they're hanging onto a tree or whatever, and you're like, okay, well the person's already located. We know exactly where we're going, so we don't need the drone. It's also our protection, so we call that overwatch. They had was it cars that went off the ferry, or the ferry actually sunk? I don't remember. Scott, do you remember? Do you remember the ferry? Cars went off? I think cars went off the ferry, Anderson Ferry. And they called for UAS 500, that's the county UAS team. The whole time that they were, you know, doing the operation Delhi, and they had a bunch of mutual aid departments there. The whole time they were doing the operation, they had a drone flying over, and they just call it overwatch. And it's just watching to make sure that our people are safe. Okay, watching for barges on the river. We can watch for top load coming down, any kind of trees, kayakers coming down. It's going to give us, you know, we always have an upstream spotter, but it's going to give us better upstream spotting capabilities when we're up, and we can say, hey, you've got 10 kayaks about to come down. You know, we can have a lot more pre-warning if we have that. So that's just called overwatch. So if you ever hear us say we need the drone for overwatch, it's kind of just overwatching the whole operation. All right. Else in this book, you got the pre-flight checklist for daytime, nighttime, and then a pre-flight or a post-flight checklist. So we have a checklist that we follow to make sure we don't miss anything. So before we fly, we're gonna look at all these different things. There's a couple different apps that we gotta check and make sure that we're good to fly and we have clearance. Every time we fly, we're gonna have a mission flight report filled out, and this is for the whole mission. So we have multiple pilots, they'll all be on the same mission. So this is per mission. Every time we train, we're still gonna have this. So anytime the drone gets flown, there will be one of these papers filled out. That's not really something that VOs need to worry about. That's more of a pilot thing, but you need to know the whole operation procedure. So that's the blank copies. The next one is all of our past flights. So it's just the completed reports. We have a flight log, so just like any pilot, we actually have, you know, it's a pilot's license through the FAA, so we are required to log our flight time and to have so much flight time. By our SOG, we have to fly 30 minutes. I think we said one battery cycle, which is equivalent to 30 minutes. We have to have recorded 30 minutes of flight time per month. So that's just saying that we're keeping up with it. That's why it is a big commitment. If you're interested in being a pilot, it is a big commitment. I mean, it's fun. It was good enough that it made most of us go out and purchase our own drone. And that's the other reason we purchase our own drone, because you cannot fly it enough. The more you fly it, the more proficient you are. 30 minutes is a minimum. I'm gonna try to fly it, to go out and fly it for 30 minutes kind of gets a little redundant, you know, just flying around for 30 minutes, especially in the same thing. So I'm gonna try to fly it like 10 minutes every shift. So that'll equal up to that, at least. So every time we fly for training or for whatever mission, it'll go on this flight log. And if we would have any kind of incident or injury or anything like that, the FAA wants to see those flight hours. So we record that, and then we have to renew our pilot's license every 2 years. So we gotta have those. Some of the apps are in here that we would use. Part 107 in its entirety is in here. And then our pilot's license. So we have to have our pilot's license physically with us anytime we're flying the drone. I think everybody keeps it in their wallet, but just to be sure, especially if somebody's coming in off duty or something to do this, make sure that's why the other reason that both cases have to go. It's got important paperwork in the second case that it has to go. All right. If you were in a hurry, so if these batteries are being charged, they're going to be in that bank right there. Again, we're going to get a shelf, so it's just all dedicated and right there. But if you would go in and the batteries would be charging, and we got to go on a run, we got to get en route, grab both of the cases. Again, there's always going to be one battery in here, so at least that gives us 30 minutes of flight time. We can get it up. We can at least, you know, do whatever we need to do to stabilize the scene initially, and if we have to send somebody back and get the additional batteries, that's better than not taking it at all because the batteries are being charged. All right, so it should be 30-minute flight time with just these two cases. Any other time that these aren't charging, everything's going to be in the two cases, and it'll be sealed. All right. Any questions with any of that?
So that's an actual dispatch, like with the county.
It will be,
Dispatch is-
yeah, starting next week, it will be dispatched, they would be able to request it.
Is it under the CAD, is it gonna be for just those incidents that you just noticed?
Right.
So we actually get dispatched?
Right, I mean, you would be dispatched as UAS 70.
Okay, that's what I was.
Probably most likely for like search and rescue and hazmat stuff and like that. I don't think, you know, I don't think Green's gonna dispatch us for a structure fire, the UAS specifically. Maybe as they get more, people get more used to it, you know, and as we're getting more used to it, we're going on runs and we're like, hey, we're gonna use a drone for that, you know, don't even think about it. So, once this is, you know, we're just getting it started, so once this is more, we're used to it, I think it'll,
Do the other
be
mutual
requested
aid
more.
companies know?
no, not yet,
Department
not yet.
of-
We wanted to
I'm
make sure
waiting
everybody was,
Till we get through everything, and
Yeah.
I'll send it out to the Chiefs Association.
we wanted to make sure that everybody was up, good, we had enough people to operate it,